The 1, 2, 3, go. You can see this is the broadcast delay. It takes a little bit, but it's pretty fast. So fast that I worry. There we are. Hello, YouTube. Let's get you guys on chat. On Fleek, is that what people are calling that? Auto find and activate my YouTube. Did you know that creators have been getting got by Twitch for the dumbest stuff? Like having both chats together like I do. I've heard of much larger creators than myself getting in trouble for having the dual chat, but I guess maybe they don't put whether it's Twitch or YouTube on the thing. If I ever get a warning for that, I'm just going to turn off the thing that tells you where the chats are coming from, because it's kind of stupid. Why is this a rule? There's a rule where you have to have them completely separated and labeled. I have them labeled, I don't have them separated. What is the purpose of this rule? It's some kind of harebrained thing where they want Twitch to be its own experience. I mean, it already is. The Twitch chatters are in their own little Twitch bubble. They are exposed to the YouTube chatters, but there's still crosstalk, and there can be, and that's even the scheme that they want. They want them separate things with a label on each. From what I hear, that's not really what's in the rules, though. The rules are a little different than that. But apparently, they'll accept the thing Hassan does, but they won't accept the two of them mishmashed together like I have. Because what I do is I use, you can see here in this window, everything. Okay, that's my glucose level. We need to get this thing running for this screen. I want full bother stats on the screen. I want a heart rate, respiratory. Anyway, yeah, so the thing that I do, hold on, that's the one I wanted. The thing that I do is I use a program called Social Stream Ninja. Bother vitals, yeah. I use Social Stream Ninja, and that gets YouTube and Twitch talking together, and I can get other computers in the household to get this feed where it gives me all of the information that I need, including user pictures, which I don't really need. I should probably turn that off, but I don't know, I'd have to go into the plugin again. Anyway, but yeah, it puts it all up here. And so I've got my master chat sitting right there with all the information that I need. I've got a minimal chat window because there's not a lot of traffic on both, right? Because I'm a tiny little shit streamer who doesn't have good content that's too boring for most people to watch. Anyway, I'm this tiny little streamer. I need to trim. This is getting a little out of control. It's looking a little raggedy. I'm looking a little raggedy. I'm gonna address that. Anyway, the point is, I'm tiny. My chats don't move. I would like to put them together because otherwise, it's space that I can't give to such things. What up, Piano? Like, I mean, like, my stream could look like this at all times. I could have this going and just have little, like, sonar and, like, vitals and have, like, you know, the Connect image of myself up at the same time. While I would like to do that, it's more as, like, a joke. Like, this is just, like, a fun feed. Whereas my real content, it's minimizing the greebles, all the little things in the corners. Yeah, blood pressure, heart rate, blood glucose, body temperature. The problem is, in order to get blood pressure, you have to have, like, either do what the iPhone does, and it uses, like, some kind of a thing with, like, blood volume versus heart rate or something. It does, like, a weird calculation. It's not as accurate. Or you can have a cuff that's constantly going on and off. Yeah, this camera, I've moved stuff around, so it kind of struggles when that happens. What up, Lawn Dog? How's it going? See, look. We know where Lawn Dog harkens from, and we know where Smithclay harkens from. Why are they not allowed to be on the same feed? I vehemently disagree with that rule of toss. Yeah, they've gone after a streamer that's quite a bit larger than I am, like a lot larger than I am. But on live stream fail, the user said they went after a small streamer for this role, and I'm like, what does that make me? Cat, hey, thank you for subscribing with Prime for 26 months. I appreciate that very much. See, one thing you guys can do on Twitch and not on YouTube is subscribe to my channel and give me money so that I can be somewhat solvent in what I'm doing here. It would be nice to actually, like, grow the channel a little bit. And I've tried some stuff. I think the only thing that I can do at this point is to finish burn the subs, and we've got some other work to do before that. Yes, small-time streamer Hassan Piker. Exactly. Well, that was the thread. At least the Redditors in the thread were intelligent enough to look at the title and go, wait a minute, who do you consider to be a large streamer? Like, that's small. That was like I think it was like a 1.2K like crowd size streamer, I think. Crazy. I still think you could increase viewership for at least one stream if you gave us integration into your insulin pump. And I do hospital streams. I mean, the big way for me to grow the channel would be to do something wholly and vastly stupid and possibly detrimental to my permanent health, and get on live stream fails with something that would propel me to the top. But live stream fails is just like, big streamer said something about other big streamer because they are manipulating you into drama. They are dramatic for the sake of drama, and they are just feeding each other like an Ouroboros that's puking. So, first and last stream? No. The following streams would be from my phone, and it would be in a hospital bed. I don't know how. I don't think I would trust streaming from my phone, because my phone is my insulin pump, right? How's Burn the Subs going? Not trying to troll. You'd be the first. Yeah. So it's. I mean, it's in a state right now. I finally have access to it because I moved the brewing table in lieu of the simulator setup that was kind of like not my choice. It was, I had to act. Like if you have a brother or a family member that says they have an extra car seat, you don't say no to the extra car seat. You just don't, right? So this had to happen. I had been scheming about doing it, but this had to happen. Otherwise, we would be working on the dog collar a little bit, because I need to finish that one. That's one that's ready for a slam dunk. Hey, Mahalo, thank you for subscribing. How many months is that? Hold on one sec. How many? 78! Wait, didn't you just sub? Seems like it was only yesterday. Probably because I didn't stream a week. Hey, Trey Pop, how's it going? I just like the YouTube interface better. I can do both. We have the technology. We have the computing power. Yeah, it's like, you guys go where you want. The player is better on YouTube, but I mean, it's like YouTube's arbitrary rules about what I'm able to display on the screen. Where did they come up with that? And is it actually shown in metrics? Can they tie that to an actual uptick of Twitch viewers, having them separate? It doesn't make any sense to me. Did you find that fancy control panel? No, that's also the story of my missing week. I had a robin decide to poop all over my car. My battery in the car died, so I had to crawl all around the car and jump start it and hook it up to a battery tender, which did recharge it. I put all the bird spikes out. The bird's pooping on the bird spikes because it's a robin that's attacking its own reflection. I got rubber snakes. I put them on top of my car. That seemed to work for a little bit. I had to move the rubber snakes into the car because of the most recent snowstorm, the 14 inches that we just got. It was above freezing after the snowstorm, so I was able to push all the snow off of my car. This is all with incredible effort. Like I like pulled a muscle in my arm, and I did all kinds of stuff. See, there are the battery chargers right there. One of them's dead, but I got my car back up and the battery charged. And I took the rubber snakes off of the top of the car, and I put them on top of the cargo cover. And I found poop on my car today. It got like a nice bath from this 14 inches of snow because it was really wet snow, and I just pushed it all off. And with it, the robin poop that had been plaguing my existence. I can't use a hose in the car. We had a huge snowstorm and like 2 weeks or a week of like super freezing temperatures. So yeah, I'm not gonna use the garden hose on it to clean it off. I could push snow against it and kind of wiggle the poop off. That worked until my hands froze. So we get the snowstorm with the corresponding warm day afterwards, and I was able to just push all the snow off, and with it, the poop. My car was extremely shiny. Today, I found poop on my car. So I have not won this war. The snakes in the trunk probably need to go on top, and maybe that'll scare them away for a little bit. Now I'm using the modern capabilities of a modern computer. Well, all right. You could be on either platform. I don't care. What's that? There's a can of corn that is above our porch specifically to keep birds out. A can of corn? Been there since before we moved here 4 years ago. How does that work? When we leave, we intend to leave the corn for the next people. Yeah, that's incomprehensible. Is it just brightly colored and that's what they key off of? Because I bought these rubber snakes that are extremely flexible. They're like blah, 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 right? And they look really realistic. And they were expensive. They were like 13 bucks. What am I doing buying rubber snakes for $13? We could maybe make a rubber snake launcher eventually. I could do just like a big spring that'll go foop, and it'll throw a rubber snake at me and I go, right? That'd be actually a very funny one to put on channel points, is something that would just fucking chuck a rubber snake into my into my chest. Just boink, and then a rubber snake lands on the desk. That'd be so stupid. I love it. We'll think about that one as a future project so that I can expense my $13 purchase of 2 big rubber snakes. That they're going to go on top of my car for a little while. They'll probably get sun bleached too, but the reflection of the can in the corner to keep them from nesting in that corner. Interesting. Redeemed rubber snake cannon. Yeah. I know the emote launcher is still sitting over there, right? The 100-volt failed emote launcher. We can figure this one out. I think it needs to be a little bit more mechanical. Anyway, the state of Burn the Subs is that it's ready for like a rewire. I need to make a bunch of wiring harnesses for it, which is why I wanted to move the brewing table forward, and then my brother drops off this seat, which is a whole new set of responsibilities. But having the sim setup like this means that we could probably go over there and work on Burn the Subs now. So I'd hire a murderous feline. Yeah, there are no cats in the neighborhood, oddly enough, which is probably why this bird is stupid and bold enough to end up in my car. The bird ended up in my car because I was trickle charging the battery, and it must have come up and tried to attack itself, and it ended up inside of the car. And because I had lowered the cargo netting in order to get to my battery tenders when I was trying to jump the car, there was full unfettered access to the entire interior of the car. I had to get a bunch of bleach wipes and just wipe the whole goddamn thing off to get any like bird parasites or whatever the hell else is in their poop. I think what it does is it goes and eats a bunch of the berries and then gets drunk off of that. And then it fucking like just fights. It just wants to fight something. So it puts up the fisticuffs and it starts fighting its reflection. That happens to be my car. Because I saw the goddamn thing bouncing around on top of my car. And I was just staring at it like, what are you doing? Get off of my car. This thing sucks. Apparently the neighbors have clocked that guy too because he's been pecking at all the windows. This bird is just not well adjusted for society. Monitor number 1 is Twitch. Oh, the glory of using technology. Yes. Maybe my claim to fame would be to make a small scale emote launcher and a 24-hour Twitch stream from the hood of my car looking backwards. And that way, if anybody sees the bird, they could try to target it with the emote. I could give a little bit of a back, forth, up and down to it, and they could try to hit the bird with the plastic emote. It'd be a really weird looking apparatus. And I think just moving it at all would probably scare the bird away, but a bird taser. Somebody already said 20,000 volts. Trip-up is splicing fiber. I thought that was like a really involved thing. How can you get bored of that? Tech Ingredients drone zapper. Did Tech Ingredients make a drone zapper? Change the emote to a ball, chat-controlled fetch machine. I mean, that could be pretty good too. I don't know how long. Willow isn't quite like a Labrador. She does bring stuff back to me when we're playing, but like if we're playing outside and it's like a ball, she'll be like, you know what? This is mine now, and she'll just go off somewhere. So that reminds me of the ping pong shooter of Lab 42. I missed that stream. Lab 42 was another one of those lab coat creators, right? Didn't he make the wine sipping thing? All about chat interaction. It was very fun. It was a motion tracking laser and got truly terrifying. Oh God. You have monitor 1 and 2 as Twitch and YouTube. You don't have to do this. Not sure what happened to him. The pandemic ended, and typically these like maker streams are not that profitable, and so you move on. You go, you know what? I'm just gonna get a job. because I'll make 7,000 times the amount of money that I get for broadcasting my dumb ass onto Twitch. And, you know, you can try to do a little bit of YouTube, and if you get lucky, you know, that's the main thing, is you put yourself out there and you're looking for lightning to strike, and lightning is unpredictable. So I have been on this for a long time. I'm resilient in that sense, but yeah. Not that involved IMO, it's pretty monotonous. You're not using like a machine that does like the microscopy of the, and then you join it. And I guess it's like a process you have to follow, and that anything will get boring if it's like that. How's it going, Lines and Squares? I've been fighting a bird over the past week, and unfortunately I haven't been able to get streaming. I don't have a ton to show. At the beginning of stream, I haven't worked on a lot of this stuff exhaustively. I figure with the motor, I put the motor on the floor. The, what is it? The steering column, it kind of adjusts in a weird way to do the up and down. And what that means is that there's a pivot on the back where the steering shaft comes in. So if you, I have the perfect visual aid, and it's the steering column. But I don't have it on me right now. So, okay, the steering column comes in and it twists this way. So there's a bearing here, right? A big bearing. That bearing is then attached not at the center, but at the top, which is why did Mercedes-Benz do this? I don't know. I think the pivot should be in the middle, but there's the bearing, right, like that, and then it moves like this. It moves in a semicircle as the thing goes up and down, right? So in order to accommodate that movement, we have to have U-joints. So we've got this very tight U-joint and a vibration damper, which I don't really want on this thing because it's a direct drive steering wheel. It should be as direct as possible. We might not even need to use this considering what I'm looking at right now. But and in order to accommodate that motion, that semicircular motion, this extends. So it's got two U-joints, and then it has this plastic splined shaft with a very heavy grease on it that extends. The motor for the steering wheel, the mount that I bought from Scandinavian, so way back in the day, it actually has a pivot that moves the servo like this. So I think what I can do is just hook them up to each other. And as long as I get those pivots in the right spots, as one moves, so too shall the other. I don't know exactly if that precisely works. If I'm going to need some kind of an eccentric coupler of some kind on it, I might. You're still using your split ring for the sim rig. Split ring. Well, what is split ring? In this context? That's just a ring. The PCB, oh, the, what do you call it? Is that split ring? Maybe it is. But yes, the PCB is still in use, the dick butt one. This thing is still in use. If I can get the thing against thing working, which I don't know, their pivots are different, so that might be like a bit of a problem. Although maybe through the U-joint. But anyway, if I can get that to work, the shaft that goes all the way up to the steering wheel is hollow. So I can sneak 3 wires through that, and then I can keep the slip ring on the servo motor, which would be very nice for me because it means less work. The work that I would have to do in order to get the to get the split ring working properly in the thing, there will be extra room in between all these stalks. So if we can scan and get these into the computer, and I can get the actual steering wheel backing and stuff so we can have that area in CAD, I will be able to design something that holds up all the stalks, and then there will be a nice big circular area in the middle where the original split ring would be, the one that would use a flat cable that wraps around itself. That's where that would be, so this will take up that exact space. That's kind of what I designed it after anyway. But yeah, there'll be some little size foibles and stuff, but I'll be able to mount this in the place where the original clock spring was supposed to go. that was the alternative, but again, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of scanning stuff. I'm still going to have to scan stuff, but it would be nice if I didn't have to accommodate that thing as well, if I could just run a wire through the shaft. The only problem is that hollow shaft ends in a quite large bolt. It's like a really big bolt. Code Rush, hey, how's it going, Code Rush? Hopefully we'll be doing a little bit with coding today. We'll see about this. We're kind of configuring what this system is going to look like. So we're going to be sort of arranging the components and kind of thinking about what'll go into what. And we'll start that in just a second here. But yeah, the front of the thing here, let's take a look at. I'm going to bring the servo over just so I can show you guys what I'm talking about. Actually, we can take a camera over there. Hold on a sec. Hold on a sec. I have ideas. I have ideas. If I move the fan and I grab this camera, and without crashing the camera, which is a kind of a tall order, you can come over here. Whoa, this is a very glitchy camera. This is a very glitchy camera. Oh boy, it's not in good shape today. I don't know why it's extra sensitive. This is what I have to connect together. So I have, this is the pivot point here on the back, and then below it is where this whole shaft kind of pivots and moves. There's a U-joint here with the rubber thing, and then the extendo shaft there. This is the Scandinavian servo motor mount that I got. It would actually be kind of funny if I could mount it right here, but that's not a good place for it because that gets in the way of the monitor. This moves like this, right? These pivot just a little bit. And I was going to put like a thrust washer in there so that this would be kind of a bearing pivot. And then if I put like a, what would I put in there? This would be like a spacer and then a nylock bolt so that it would keep it on that path. And if I mount it directly to the back of this, I think maybe I can accommodate for that motion. But then again, there's still misalignment that I have to think about. So I may have to get a different coupling up here, which means I'd have to rebuild the thingy-wingy, this guy. This is the slip ring that allows us to send electrical signals up to the wheel. But I would love to keep this the way it is and just couple the motor right here. But I'm still thinking about it. I've been theorizing about it. Maybe I need to model some stuff in CAD. Oh my God, this thing is heavy. That is like a 20-pound motor. Oh. Camera cables don't like to be moved. I think it's the USB connector on it because I've got it on an extension cord. And so the USB coupling is probably where most of the current is being lost. But yeah, this is how Mercedes did it. They had an eccentric extending shaft. Later Mercedes actually have a collapsing mechanism. They had this weird thing, which is like two pieces with a third piece in between, and it would like open up and extend for your steering column. Very weird. But I guess it works. Mini HDMI is probably the worst connector to have ever been created. What's up, Findall? The micro or the mini XLR people would argue with you on that. The connection for my microphone is mini XLR. They kind of hate those. It works until it doesn't. Yeah. Here's you building cool stuff. Here's me being nervous about putting a single screw in my wall. Confidence can be built with experience. Failure is the option. You should fail at that, and then you will feel much more confident doing that. Filling in weird holes in your ceiling. It's a right. This track light did not go up very easily, and there's a couple spots where there are visible holes in my wall, in my ceiling, that I constantly look at and think are bugs. How did that bug get in here? Oh, it's just a hole in the wall. Did you see micro HDMI? They did make smaller ones. Oh, let me get this out of here. Bonk. Sorry, we ran out of mix. I don't know. The mix is just Space Cowboys, and it's pretty much stolen. Um, so, go check out their podcast. It's a music collective out of San Francisco, who I partied with in Burning Man in 2011. I'm that guy talking about his football fame in high school, aren't I? That's how it feels about now, talking about Burning Man in 2011. Anyway, yeah, that's just the thing. The cable that's bugging me, the one that is the where is that? Do I not have burn the subs? Oh, there it is. Yeah, this one it's Logitech webcam, so they're like super duper hungry for bandwidth on USB. You have to install extra USB cards in your computer so that their addresses are so far apart that you get good video out of all of them and they don't conflict with one another and take each other out. This one, however, is on a big extension. So you couple the problems with needing a heavy amount of bandwidth with having almost no power after all the resistance of the extender going over to it, and you've got some shitty connector on the end of the extender. That connector barely connects. It's probably adding a whole bunch of resistance to the digital communication lines as well as the power supply, and so it is a wonder that this camera even works in the first place. It is an absolute wonder. Nikon Z6 into a capture card. I've never had the money to do big purchases of things. If I suddenly had $8,000, I could upgrade this all to Blackmagic, which would be a sizable change in the way that I do things and an upgrade to the system. In this stream, we build things that look expensive that were actually quite heavily thrifted together. That's sort of my motif, I guess. It's sort of my modus operandi. I could build stuff out of wood. That would be nice and cheap, but it would look cheap and I would feel bad doing it. But I could also just purchase things that would do the job out of the box. No. We spend way too much time engineering things out of the real materials that we purchased for pennies on the dollar and putting so much effort into it, it makes sense to just buy the thing in the first place from the start. But what would I have to stream? We don't do things because we don't do hard things because they're easy, but because we thought they would be. No, I don't know. However that fucking quote goes. What are we doing today? I once saw a man from Nantucket. I once saw a man soldering ripped combined HDMI and USB cable. I actually can one up that one for the Microscope camera. The Microscope camera is a Logitech webcam inside of a Kurokesu aluminum enclosure. It goes to C-mount, has a C-mount adapter, and then it has the Nikon, apparently the Nikon lens that everybody hates, the 18 whatever Nikon lens, old one. We have been inside of this lens. We tried to take it over digitally because I wanted the stability, because this thing shakes like a mofo. I wanted the stability motor to be able to activate, and I wanted to be able to motor focus this thing using something on the desk, because whenever I focus this thing using the ring, we're bouncing all over the place. So I wanted to take this thing over. We took it apart. We were able to get what looked like a successful communication, but then nothing happened with it. I really want to revisit this one. That's an old one. That was a long time ago. But anyway, when I was putting it back together, one of the orange flat cables ripped, and I actually was able to repair it doing some pretty extreme micro soldering, because this Microscope is really, really good at looking at things up close. Oh yeah, you got to have googly eyes. Yeah, this Microscope is really good at looking at things up close. Anyway, what are we working on today? Hello, welcome to my shop, Code Rush aficionados. I'm back after really impressive. You would have to see it. I think it's in my clips. I'm not sure. Anyway, welcome to my shop. This is where I'm op. I just got done explaining how we do things around here. We try to make things that are like well engineered and expensive. I also try to actually make things. It doesn't often work out. I'm not afraid to fail. We fail often. That's part of the process. Part of any process is you should fail. You can be afraid of failing and you can know the consequences of failure, but you should still fail. Fail. Just fail at things, because eventually, this is what happened with me, eventually things start succeeding. You actually start to build sort of that institutional confidence and knowledge in how to not do things incorrectly because you've done things incorrectly, right? And I'm talking very wishy-washy terms here. I'm getting into woo-woo shit, right? I'm not talking about anything super specific, but it's like the road to kind of being okay at something is fraught with failure, no matter what you do. And I see it a lot. I see people try to get into sort of the makering thing, and they start up their YouTube channels and everything, and they just don't function in a fail state. That's how I had to function for the first years and years of my stream. I still don't consider this to be a non-failed stream. I don't have that many viewers, right? But I'm still doing it. I'm not afraid to do it. Buying is not fun. Engineering is. Amen. Amen, brother. Yeah, figuring out what all these stupid little problems are is part of the fun of this. When I do programming on stream, I prefer for chat to let me fail because I like to show what happens when you don't put a semicolon at the end of the line of code, right? What happens? It's like they cannot allow that to happen. It's very frustrating for the experienced programmers. So, Surgeon, thank you. We'll follow your advice. Surgery is knowing the consequences of your failure. That's sort of and training alongside somebody else. Totally different animal than what we do, right? Totally different animal. If I were to try to do what I do with surgical precision, we would be doing a lot more computer modeling, and we would be doing a lot more referencing of other people's things. If you want to build new things, you got to kind of explore a little bit, and that does not apply to surgery. Healthcare is a different thing. This is not healthcare. Well, it is mental healthcare. Yeah, if you know the way the thing should be, and if the thing that you're working on can fucking heal, it's slightly different than bolting together a sim setup out of a car seat that your brother dropped off. So we have a BMW F10 car seat from like 2014-ish. That's what this seat is here. And that's what sort of began the whole saga of upgrading my sim setup. My previous sim setup used this. Yeah. To bolt onto my desk. I have these clamps. These are crazy clamps. They're super duper cool. I might try to use them in the sim setup to have like a door that opens and closes so you can get in and out of the chair. But I had the servo mounted on this big plate. This whole thing would shove up against my desk, and then I'd clamp it down so that it wouldn't move. That has some problems in that it's not adjustable. It's not really at the right height. I can move my monitors around to accommodate for it, but it didn't really work out all that well. So eventually all things lead to SimPit, unfortunately. Flatulent Gonad, a fellow streamer who's pretty much like me, but British and does things a little cheaper and with wood, has a whole sim setup made out of just cheap things, right? It's a really awesome setup, and I kind of want to follow in his footsteps a little bit. I have been digging through everything that I own looking for a particular switch, and I still haven't been able to find it. I can't find this switch, and I don't know what happened to it. But I did find some cool things from my previous simulator stuff. I found a whole button panel that I squirreled away, and the X65F control panel, which has a couple indicators. It is a flip-up emergency switch on it. This thing is definitely going in, these two things. I also found a MIDI controller that I used for Star Citizen for all of the different functions, back when Star Citizen was about spaceships and not about people. Notice they're about the same size. So I don't know what I want to do. If I want to do like a controls wall somewhere on this thing. The possibilities are incredible. So those are going to get integrated too. In addition to all of that, with the regular car setup, we've got the steering wheel, we've got the gas pedal, the brake pedal, the clutch pedal. The brake pedal's on a load cell. We've got all this crap, which include a turn signal that has a BMW logo on it. That's the windshield wipers. This is a BMW turn signal, believe it or not. Here it is. A friend of mine actually quit their job at BMW. They gave no indication of it. Anyway, this is the turn signals and headlights and stuff. I have a Mercedes steering wheel adjuster and a windshield wiper. All would be very funny to incorporate. And fun and funny. Most of what I'm doing is just because it'll be funny, and implementing it is a huge pain in the ass, so that'll be kind of fun. Star Citizen is such a rabbit hole. Yeah, I got roped into it when I had a real job, and so I was able to, every now and then I'd spend like 20 bucks, be like, that shit will be cool. And then all of a sudden they're like, congratulations, you're in the concierge system. And I'm like, what's the concierge system? And they're like, oh, it's people who spent over $1,000. I'm like, I'm going to stop spending money. Wow. They were going to have a spaceship simulator game, right? And oh, here I am, a simulator person who likes sci-fi. And so that would be really cool to like build a simulator that we could do with Star Citizen. And so I had been accumulating stuff. I found somebody on the forums who made a plastic shell for a left-handed warthog. And then time went on and time went on and time went on. And some of my other friends who did the spaceship stuff said, hey, I'm looking to get rid of all my joystick stuff. You want it? And so you start accumulating these kinds of things. And time goes on and everybody else moves on but me. And so I have all this simulator stuff that I want to actually put into the sim rig. I would love it if I could use the BMW chicken wing shifter is not that cool, but maybe we could do something with that. I have these warthogs that I would love to put into position. I don't know if they can coexist with the steering wheel setup. I have the shifter that we 3D printed. I have a parking brake. All of these things will go into the system. How do we get them all communicating with one another? Well, you could do it a traditional way. There's all kinds of tools that will allow you to turn things into HID devices and then tie them all together with a big bow. That's not good enough for me. You know, there's systems. I don't know what they are. Gonad actually knows a couple of them in order to tie a bunch of different like switches and controls and stuff together. But I don't want to do things the normal way because that bores me and it also costs money. So what I am doing is I am trying to incorporate all of these accessories speaking CAN bus because, well, this speaks CAN bus and the seat speaks CAN bus. Everything else is too old for that. But apparently CAN bus is fast enough for all the analog stuff too. It's like me with my Ender 3 trying to find a friend to offload it to. Yeah. I'm the endpoint. I'm the endpoint. Stuff does not flow out of me. I don't give people stuff typically unless they, you know, if a friend of mine's over here, I can't give them a power supply. That doesn't happen. I've given graphics cards before. The one that my friend killed, it's that one right there. I gave it to him because I'm like, hey, maybe you could play Star Citizen with it. Back when the GTX 970 was, it still is viable, but it was viable back then too. And it was like a very modern card. And I was like, yeah, you can have this one. I'm upgrading to a 1080 FTW. And the 1080 FTW is now inside of the streaming computer doing encoding for streaming. That card is amazing. Ender 3 is not a good starting point. Yeah, the older generation of fairly involved tuning, like the older generation of printers requires a lot of tuning, and you really just need to follow a guide at this point. But since that's like a solved issue, it's better for the beginner just to get something where they can throw settings into it and then, hey, look, I printed a cat, you know? But anyway, so all of this stuff I've been wanting to wrap into a simulator setup. I've been collecting this stuff for like decades at least. And I figure it would be a lot of fun to kind of put something together that used all this cool stuff. Well, it turns out open force feedback, open FFB board, which is a GitHub project, which I think a lot of the simulator people are using for direct feedback. There was a fellow on Strange Parts who had a shift knob that didn't have any like set gears. It was just a loose joystick, but it had the force feedback motors on it. And they were, I think, able to use OpenFFB to make it into like a gated shift knob. It would feel like a gated shift knob because it would fight you if you're trying to go on the wrong things. As fascinating as that is, and I could probably put that together with a couple of the motors that I have around here. I'm not looking to do that yet. Maybe one day, not yet. But it's fascinating that they were able to do that using OpenFFB. I think the old controller for this system could also be changed over to OpenFFB. I think that's a known thing. For the Granite Devices board, I can just switch it over, give it all the pinouts, which would mean we would finally have API access. And actually, it doesn't use API access. I don't have to TX and RX things into it. I can use CAN bus. If I can use CAN bus, then we can implement the system that I want to implement. The system that I want to implement is small, cheap microcontroller, analog and digital inputs, monitoring stuff. I flip a lever, a resistance changes, a voltage level changes going into an analog. This thing outputs a packet via CAN bus. The Raspberry Pi sees that packet, and reroutes it to an HID device. I have 4 HID devices sitting here. These are RP2040s, reprogrammed to become a joystick. I haven't done that yet. This thing sees that new CAN message, says, okay, I'll activate that button. And it's if I can do this properly, if it's fast enough, this would be running Node-RED. Why Node-RED? Well, in Node-RED, I can do all kinds of very fascinating things with the stuff around me. And what we have here is a Twitch API coming into Node-RED, and the message is being sort of distributed out to a bunch of different nodes that look for specific things going on in the node. So for instance, if that Java message that rolls in from Twitch contains fart as a channel point reward with a number on it, I can have it go in. Hold on, which window am I on? I can have it see that it's a sub or a gift. And if it's a, points redeem that says fart, it'll set the payload to be only the reward message, so only the number. Then we either, if it's from 0 to 9, send the number on to the next thing, or we'll set it as random. Random is just 0 in this system. That will then go to an MQTT broker that will send it to this microcontroller over here and redeem the number using a queue system. So all that stuff, and all I needed to do to program it was attach node to node to node to node to node. And I can have nodes that manipulate things and all kinds of other stuff. I'm gonna get the debug out of here. We don't need that today. Our fartbox works. So that is Node-RED, right? I have some tools in Node-RED that would be running off of not this specific Node-RED is running off of my server. We would be running it off of the Raspberry Pi. The Raspberry Pi is perfectly capable of running Node-RED like this. But what I'll be able to do is have CAN bus messages coming into the Pi and CAN bus messages leaving the Pi. Subscription failed. Channel hype train begin. Hype train progress. Hype train end. Why wasn't it able to subscribe to those? Huh. That's weird. I don't need those nodes anyway, so I guess that's okay. But the point is, on one side of it, I can have all of my inputs, all my switches and physical buttons and stuff. And on the other side, I can have the HID devices outputting. So I can have OpenFFB, which will be looking for its own CAN bus messages. And then I can have my HID devices, which will also be looking for their own unique CAN bus messages. And then I can have my devices outputting their own unique CAN bus messages. And what it would be is a 500 kbps, extremely busy CAN bus. That's a lot of signals to go on a CAN bus, but I think it can have it. I think it can handle it. CAN bus is just a differential signal. It's just a digital communication. We have been able to, through this, we've been able to communicate with CAN bus with this. We have not successfully used the chair. The seat, the car seat also uses CAN bus. It has a whole computer in it. We have not been able to successfully communicate with the seat. We haven't tried. We haven't fully tried yet. We looked at the CAN bus on it and we tried to give it a couple messages. We didn't give it a couple messages. We had it in a system that was giving out messages and it seemed like it didn't really hear what was going on. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. That's something that we have to explore. But first I want to have like a CAN bus that I can actually like test with and figure out whether or not we have the bandwidth to put everybody on the same thing, because that would be really awesome if everyone was just speaking one language on the thing. And that would mean that on the fly, I could change the interaction type, I can tune things, I can give chat control of things, etc., etc., etc. The seat didn't like the particular speed of the German that I was speaking. It didn't like it. No, sir, I don't like it. So what I want to do is start putting together all of this stuff onto sort of our own CAN bus. We got to figure out what that's going to entail, and we have to collect things in order to do it. I have been turning storage inside out in the shop for a week, looking for a switch. I had a little headlight switch, and I really wanted to put that onto this system, but I can't. I don't know where it is. Let's finish up this thing. Without giving it CAN communication, I just want to test my theory because I haven't been able to work on this thing on the side. My theory is that, here, let's start up Arduino. My theory is that the voltage divider value should be in the middle of all of the resistor values of the components. So if I pull up paint, so we'll do this and then we'll start gathering stuff together so that I know what I can work on Wednesday and I can get a big jump on this. And then we can have the cool aha moment when it actually works or not. Oh my God, so many windows. No, I do not want to upgrade. Which is the one that we were coding. Man, so many people jumping in and saying, why don't you use AI to code it? And it's like, because you stink like cabbage. I have not seen AI doing microcontroller code that didn't need enough revision that it sort of scares me away from wanting to do that. This is all CAN bus. Where's the most recent thing? Is it this one? No. Open recent. Don't tell me we didn't. Okay. Can test, can receive. Joystick all functions. I'm pretty sure I saved this. The computer went down overnight. I think I hit Control S. I really hope I did. This would be like stocks. Pretty nice for giving basic Python advice. Yeah, stuff like that can be okay. Can AI Vibe plug in your pinouts? Probably. I don't know. I don't care. I don't want to code with AI. You hate that it's called vibe coding? Yeah. Okay, can test constraint. Well, under can test, we have just can test.ino. F10 shifter, that's a different CAN bus thing. Nortaki, over the world, hello world, packet test, pulse in test, record engine, responsive analog radio, sample VFD, theme, and tiny 85 analog write. So maybe it's in the stream specific desktop. Nope, that's 3D objects. Desktop, I really hope I hit save on this thing because we made a whole program. I need to work on the file permissions for my server. Merc wheel, stocks. There we go, stock tester. Okay, good, I did save it. Ooh-wee, that would have been a little gut-wrenching to lose that. No, date modified wouldn't have helped. This takes a while. I'm using an old IDE. I probably should upgrade and use the latest one, just so that I'm displaying sort of the basics of what you would expect if you started to work with Arduinos. So far, everything has been working perfectly fine on the IDE, except maybe it takes a minute or two to open up a file. Was it already open? Oh, it might have already been open. Yeah, here it is. It was already open. COM A and B. LED wheel. Okay. Yeah, so this is all the stuff that we put into it, and I've got weird variables. And then we also have the reverse engineering, which would be not that one. That's the dog collar. Open. It looks like it didn't remember any of the stuff, but at least I hit Control S before leaving the computer. So these are the connectors on the back of the stalks. We can see that what they do is they have, here, wait, move this over a little bit. What they have is a selector or a temporary selector, what moves a switch onto a resistor, right? That moves it to the resistor that goes to ground. And that means you have fewer wires to describe what the stalk is doing right now, right? Fewer wires to do everything, and that way you have a bunch of resistors. So we've got 2K, 4K, 6K, and 8K, right? And if you put the other end of this to a resistor that goes up to power, you now have what's called a voltage divider. Voltage divider is just power, resistor, output, resistor, ground. And so your V in and your V out depend on the values of R1 and R2, because one's pulling it to positive and the other one pulls it towards ground. So V, if I remember this correctly, V out is equal to, is it V in over R1, R? I don't remember. I don't remember. We can just look it up. I thought I would remember, but it felt too much like taking a test in school. The equation for the voltage divider is not that complicated. Why is that so complicated? V1 is equal to R1 V in over RT, which is R out, I guess. What is all this crap? No. Why is Google useless? Why were there 2 resistors in the AI overview? Those shit. Here, that's the voltage divider right there. It's pretty simple. V out is equal to V1, V1 R2 over R1 plus R2. There we go. It's a little bit more complicated than being stupid simple, but it is just how we do this. So what we need then is an analog pin in order to read what that voltage is, and we need voltages that are sufficiently spaced out. And so instead of what we said last time was that, hey, maybe I could just put a 10K resistor on this thing, right? Because then you have 10K being pulled down through an 8K, a 6K, a 4K, and a 2K. But what that means is that if V1 and V2 are the same value, then you are at half. So if you have a weak pull-up versus a strong pull-down, or a weak pull-up versus a weak pull-down, you only access half of those values. So really, technically, we should be here in the middle value of all of these. In which case, why did the thing get smaller? Weird. I guess pencil was set to a different one. So 2, 4, so 5K would be the ideal. In this case, it's 301.2K. Yeah, why did the AI try to give me the voltage divider for 3? That's not what the voltage divider. It's like two resistors, not 3. It's just fucking hate AI so much. I'm malding. I'm seething. 301.2. Math. 1200 minus 300, 900. I think I just want 900. I think that's actually the value. That could potentially be a 1K. 900 ohms. 80, 1.3 minus 80. Negative 78.2, so we put a negative 78.2. 1300 minus 80. 1220? That doesn't seem like that's in the middle. Would it be divided by 2 then? No, because maybe 610. Why did I get... Oh yeah, 900 is... But then that's 300... No. No. Yeah, 610. 610 for that one. That's not 900. That's 450 ohms. That's too close to 300 though. I know, we're putting AI to shame with the amount of stupidity that we have here. I have 300 ohms and then I have 1.2K and I'm trying to find the middle value between them. What's the equation for that? I'm just going to look it up. I'm going to look it up because I'm too dumb to do math right now. Middle value between two numeros Don't you tell me. I don't want to know from you. AI, you little bastard. Google Images is probably not that reliable either. So A plus B over 2. So that seems a little strange. Well, maybe I'll just try it. So that would be, what, 80 plus 1.3. No, 1,300. Ah! $690. Giggity. $690 ohms. And then this would be, well, I could do 3.6 and 224 or 620 and 1. Oh wait, those are yeah, out of order. You're out of order. No, they're not. Let's just do 224 and 3.6. So 3,600 plus 224. Ah! Over 2. 1912. This is just close enough value. You know, like a 2K would probably do fine there. Let us do Kirchhoff voltage laws for the next 2 hours to find the answer. Ugh. Or how about we combine two of these together so that we have 80 1.3 combined with 3.6, 1.3, 620, and 224, and then we tell our microcontroller what all the different levels are for all those different ones and give it a nice little window that it can be within because the numbers are going to run around a little bit on us. Yeah. It could probably be done. We could probably connect these to each other. It would save us one wire, and we would do a ton of experimental and or just calculating of different positions. I wonder if there would be enough unique locations. Two of them use 1.3 though. So it might not work. It might not work out. And I wonder if the Mercedes engineers had to go through that rigmarole. So 300 and 1.2, 1,500, 750. Now 2K and 8K is probably not going to be 5K, is it? 10K. Oh, it is. I don't even need the calculator for that. Oh, it is. It is 5K. Yeah. I don't. That's why am I? Okay. Why am I dumb, chat? These are the values of the resistors that I need to kind of like approximate in order to get a full range of values out of these stocks. Do I want to test that now? I don't know what's connected where. I don't know which pin is which. I can look at my software to do that. The problem is using the Maxim part. I might split this into two microcontrollers so that it's so weird though to have two microcontrollers doing all this stuff. That way the analogs can directly interface, and that way I can use little $2 RP2040s. These have 4 analog inputs, and I'm not using all of my Max 309s that I have a limited quantity of. I'm kind of running out of them because we've used them on the keyboard project. So I'm gonna get some more of these guys. Let's set up one of these guys to do some stuff. And we'll sort of start the process of getting something on that can at least monitor CAN bus a little bit. We need a CAN bus monitor, and then we need something that we can create CAN bus signals with. It could be this thing. It could be, you know, any of a number of devices. Probably should just put this breadboard on this and actually make like a wire for it that I can't screw up every time I plug in. Make just like a wire connector there, and we can create a plug for this, which is just a giant JST with a mark on it so that we plug it in the right way. That way I have something that creates CAN bus signals, and we can interpret them with the Raspberry Pi, and we can also have one of the RP2040s on one of these boards monitoring it as well, just so that we know, oh, are there CAN bus signals? Let me plug into this, and then I can see them on the line. I think that would be something that I kind of want to do. But do I need that? That's kind of redundant. If we've got this one functioning in order to do this guy, then we can just do it here. I could put an RP2040 on this board instead of the Arduino. The 4 analog thing really kills me. If I put a Teensy on the steering wheel, then I could do everything on the Teensy, but 3D print or just buy. I guess, is my printer powerful enough to do that? I'm gonna close the window. I'm starting to freeze. It's getting a little chilly. We got 14 inches of snow. We got completely buried. And my dog is having the time of her life. Willow, the corgi, loves this snow. She loves it. She will have nothing less than zoomies outside. Absolutely adores all this stuff. What am I going to do with these? I've got these from an early iteration of what I thought the wheel would become. I thought the wheel would just be like an accessory. And I thought it was going to be just like a regular car wheel. And so I bought some paddles from BMW. Oh, this is from an Ozempic pen. We're going to look at those at some point too for a little variety. That might be a Friday variety. Is reverse engineering an Ozempic auto injector pen. These are the paddles from a BMW. I bought these for way too much money, but they're cool. They're like these cool blades that you pull on that I think they're fixed and the wheel moves around them so that you're pulling on the bottom here and you're pulling on the top here, right? Unlike the Mercedes ones that move with the wheel, and so it's always in the same spot, right? But these are designed so that you can reach them depending on what maneuver you're doing. Like this one is shifting into traffic and cutting somebody off without using your turn signal, and this one would be doing a burnout at a car meet and sliding into a pole. So you can reach the entire range of motion on there. That's why they're shaped like batarangs. I don't know what to do with these because it's not like I'm going to mount them with the wheel. That would be really weird because the Mercedes wheel already has paddles, 2 sets of paddles. Got confused for a sec though. Weren't you supposed to use your feet on those? What? No, these are behind the steering wheel. BMW mode or Mustang mode? Yeah, well the Mustang mode is just sliding out, at a car meet. And you're so distracted by these that you don't use your turn signal, which is right there. It's right there. I don't know what to do with them. I don't know. I think these don't speak CAN bus, so we'll have to incorporate them somehow. That's kind of a cool little button cluster. Oh, and then I found another button. I found more controls. Not the one I was looking for. The one I was looking for, I've tossed everything upside down looking for it, and I'm so frustrated, chat. I'm so frustrated. We got this one. This is from the E46 46 auto M shifter, and it's just like this little like volume knob. It has 2 LEDs in it. There's one under each of these levers, so they don't illuminate this little do thing. But there's enough pins in here that I might be able to put like an RGB LED in there, or maybe a little piece of RGB LED strip, and then I could have it like charge up something and charge down something. I don't know. I was thinking out like, what can I do with that? It's pretty cool. But yeah, if I could put a little LED strip in between them and put that on one of the pins back here, that would be really cool. So that's something to think about in the future. A lot of really weird little things like this. Yeah, I know, the Lost Soldier. I've looked almost goddamn everywhere. I think I have looked everywhere. I just keep coming up with places where it should be, like right here on this shelf, and I keep looking, but it's not there. My only other respite is that maybe it fell behind stuff and I can find it under things if I look on the floor, or maybe it got caught behind the desk somewhere. I don't know. I'm at a point where I don't know if I have a memory of me throwing it out. Like it got scratched up somehow, and I said, you know what? I'm never going to get to this. I'll throw it out. But that, at this point, that could have been just a daydream, right? I don't have any memory of what happened to this little button cluster, and it's really getting to me. It is really getting to me. You'll find it when you absolutely don't need it. I'm like, man, I finally broke down the sim setup. it was a good run, but everything in it's gotten so old, and my old decrepit body is broken. And oh my God, I found the switch. Yeah, that's exactly what's going to go down. It's just so predictable that that's what's going to go down. The other consideration that I had for using Node-RED, and this is just me kind of putting my theories all out there at once, is that we've got a couple of USB slots on this thing. And so if I have a device that is like this switch panel here, I got to find it. Where did it go? That's way over there. The switch panel over here, I might be able to just hook it up to USB just from the get-go. I kind of want to take control of this thing though, because there's all kinds of cool stuff here, and utilizing it all in a simulator would be much cooler. And I don't want to get the like specific program that runs this thing, but it's got a gear up and a gear down lever, right? And so these will go from green to red depending on whether the gear went down or not. And I got a selector switch over here. I mean, these are fairly simple things. I have a feeling these are matrixed as a keypad, so we might have to do a full takeover of this thing. I kind of do want to take this thing apart and take a look at it. We're taking this thing apart. We're taking a look at it. This one is also another fun one, but I think I'll be able to get to it directly because it's got like a weird plug for scitec on the back. And this one has 4 modes, and they're actually labeled feedback. There's force settings. So I might be able to use this to control the actual wheel and tell you what mode you're in. I think that would be very, very cool to do. This is for the thumb selector on the throttle. But yeah, a lot of cool stuff we can get into here. Hold on, let's get this thing off of here. I kind of want to take this thing apart and just get a look at the inside and see what makes it tick. I've had a very frustrating week of tossing every single storage area that I have and looking for that switch panel, because that switch panel, we've looked at it before, we've reverse engineered it. The problem, this would typically be something where I'm like, I can't find this thing and it's just a used car part. I am going to go and buy one and not tell chat. I'm just going to buy it and get it done with. The problem being that this is a switch that is for controlling headlights in the car, and it is attached to a big circuit board, and the big circuit board has a bunch of relays on it. And in such configuration, it is a $100 part. I'm not about to spend $100 on a headlight switch. I don't think I'd be unjustified in it, but I'm not your typical simulator person. I don't have money. Oh yeah, absolutely. Driving yapping streams, like longer road trip kind of things, and doing, you know, my winter car came out. Space games. There's a space trucker game that I've been wanting to play. Yeah, I want to get to all of that stuff when we get this stuff together and in enough shape that I can actually use it. And then maybe I'll have lost enough weight to not look like a total idiot when I'm sitting on this thing. Otherwise, you guys are going to get cameras that don't give you all the full information. You'll get like pedal cameras, foot camera, finally. Maybe an over-the-shoulder cam, but I'm still like way too much belly for that. Oh, there goes that screw. I should probably keep these together. Hold on, let me get that screw from the floor. I want to see how this switch panel works and how much of a hassle it'll be to reverse engineer. I don't know where that screw went. Oh no! It's in the cat dimension, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, no, there it is. I found it. Yeah, there's some pretty good, like, I mean, obviously we could do Euro Trucker, although I don't think that's as popular anymore. I think all the Euro Trucker freaks have fled from the platform at this point. That was like, Euro Trucker was just a good pandemic game. What? Can't. Give me the screw. Give me it. Give me it. Give me. Being a jerk. What about a magnet? What the? That's a weird one. Well, it worked perfectly. And then the more comfortable I get with the setup, the more we can give chat different interactions. Because, like, I mean, hell, like with full control of the CAN bus packets coming out of the thing, we could have it so that a twitch interaction makes a packet that moves the wheel to another position or increases the amount of force and the force feedback. Like the possibilities are kind of limitless. It's kind of an amazing thing. I think it'll be really cool if it goes together the way I want it to. And the big thing that can hamstring the whole project, my second screen is waiting for those play streams of yours. Yeah. We'll get there eventually. I'm not done gaming on the platform yet. My Jedi Knight 2 streams weren't popular enough. I had fun, but I haven't been able, also since getting a dog, I have not been able to like carve out the time to do weird ones. Very relaxing type of content. I mean, you know, I'll also kind of want to do like racing games too, but probably these need to be pulled off. Yeah, there we go. Yep. I can't do anything about this. Screw holes? Nah. Okay. So that needs to be undone. Normally I'd take a pair of wire cutter pliers and open that up with those, but I do have a set of small hex wrenches that I like to use for these so I don't damage anything around them. They're metric. This might be an English one. Be kind of weird if it was. Most sensible things are done in metric these days. Oh, that's just loose. That actually might just be a loose selector switch. So is this is snapped and screwed. Evil. I guess they know the type of people that they're selling this to, and they're the type of people that would pull open a switch panel to try to modify it. I want to keep you from doing that. Any other tricks up its sleeve? Oh, I think that's the plastic fill port, because there's a serial number on it, right? You guys can steal my serial number if you want. I don't think there's a screw hole there. That doesn't make any sense. Doot. Weird placement of those. I don't think I ever got this working for Star Citizen. There's no other real... I have a feeling there's going to be a floating circuit board on the back of these switches, and it's all going to be soldered in. I guess I need to get a pry bar in here. Maybe a spudger of some kind. There's like sneezed on it or something. It's gross. Yeah, I think it's snapped together like a keyboard. Let me do it on the bottom of the panel where I'm not going to see it. I don't know how this thing is going to mount up yet. Why do you fight me? Why? Come on, where is it? Wow, okay. What the fuck? It's just, what? I mean, if I have to run this with the back panel permanently off, I don't really care. So what am I running into here? Maybe I need to just like crack the thing open with a big screwdriver. I don't really have a, I mean, I got like a small screwdriver. These usually will hurt the plastic though. Some kind of infernal snapping mechanism that I'm probably going to break. Any idea what I can do with what I can use two old laptops for? One is an Asus EEE, the size of a pad PC. The other I don't know, but it's so old I could not go to YouTube on it. Woof. And you've already got Ubuntu on them? Wow. Okay. I don't know because I have a netbook upstairs. And if you have a car that is sufficiently old, you might be able to, if you have a car that is both a BMW and is old from, you know, for instance, the early 2000s. You can install all of the BMW car tools on it in Windows. You'd have to put in like Windows XP, and then you can utilize all those car programming tools on the isolated old laptop. That's essentially what the one laptop that I have does. That's all it does. And then I was gonna use it to run chat for Julian and Dave when they come over, but they haven't come over in a little while. So I haven't had a push to put the Social Stream Ninja onto it. Not really sure what you can do with, you know, dilapidated old laptops that can barely run YouTube. Pi-hole? You can turn one into a Pi-hole? You just use Raspberry Pi for that. Wait, was that it? Capitulating? This is a problem. This is a problem. My spudges aren't even working on it. This is going to be one of those ones where I like really wrench at it, and then when it finally capitulates, I have a completely broken device. Who built you? Who made you? They're on my shit list. Wow, we need to, hold on, I need to calibrate this camera. Cost of doing business with the Microscope is that I need to run a calibration so it doesn't look stupid. But it's nice that it's a scitec. You bastards. You utter bastards. Why are you putting snaps on something that's already got screws? What justice is there in this world? So just throw them away and have less clutter? What's less clutter? I don't know what that is. Those words, individually, they do mean something, but when you string them together in that order, I don't know what it means, less clutter. Anyway, off to the switch panel that I won't throw away. Light or puppy Linux because of the era of the laptop. That's a thought. Yeah, match the era of the laptop. They were never meant to run YouTube. Although, you know, web design has kind of followed technology's increase, so. It's for running AOL. Why? These snaps are evil. There's literally no other thing that I could do to release this. It is snapped together in some such way as to have never have needed to have screws in the first place. I believe those two operating systems, this would be Linux Lite or Puppy Linux, run off of Firefox, which is about the last browser that's going to support something that ancient. I know nothing of this. I defer to your expertise. What is going on? This is like, I feel like I'm going to break this thing completely. Oh, well, now this has fallen through, so I have to get it off. I have to actually open this thing up. But it feels like I'm going to break it just because of the snaps that they used. I don't really have a reference for scitec design. Because like maybe if I'm damaging the plastic every time I go in here. They had no right to use this level of snap to close their device. Look at this. It's like distorting. And if I do this by hand, if I get my fingers in there, it's gonna pinch me. I'm afraid it's gonna pinch me. It's one of those. Apparently you gotta find the snaps and push them down, and I feel like I just broke the one. No, you get a safety device in there. There we go. Started them. We started them. Jeez. Yeah, this kind of snap is the evil one, because they have it fall into the seam. They've got a lip on the seam, and then they've got these guys. These ones love to break off, and I think I broke off the two on the end. They're not even needed. There's so many screws. This is this kind of snap. The little, here, get this out of the way. Pure evil. It's just this little split clip and then it's supported by the lip there. So if you knew where it was, you could potentially push on it with something, but the plastic is thin enough that it'll just explode as soon as you do anything to it. And that's what they're giving you. Yeah, there's the selector switch. Neat. Oh, wow. Okay, so the matrix of switches is done a little differently. And they got USB going in there. We can release the cable, but I'm going to have to cut the cable, which is fine because I'll cut it here where I'll leave a little pigtail behind. And we will make our own board that goes in there that speaks CAN bus. And it activates the LEDs. So that's just a casualty of the project. We'll get everybody speaking CAN bus to one another, and then it won't be fast enough, and I'll have to split the CAN bus into multiple things. What was this originally? This is for a scitec product for simulator, for aircraft simulation, with a landing gear lever and a big mode selector on it. Potentially, I could put a spring on one of the contacts and make that into the starter contact. I was thinking about doing that. There's room inside of here, maybe. Oh, I don't know what. Hold on, let's look. Yeah, it's one of those, huh? If I could put like a big spring thing down into here, I could make it so that the one contact will spring back and out. Maybe. Okay, so there's the USB cable dealt with. Probably not going to deal with much else on this. I just want to kind of take a peek in here and see how it works. I don't even know if I want to put all the stuff back on. I guess I'll just sort of hastily reassemble it so I have a reference if I want to put this whole thing back together. It's too much work to go through the protocol and figure out how to speak to it via USB. That could probably be done, but it's easier for me, the way that I do things, to go directly to the thing and replace it with my own microcontroller. I know it's a little roundabout, but it's how we do things here. Where did the other one of the short stack? I guess that's one of the ones. Where did the other one go? There's like 3 of those. I don't know if I'm using the right screw here. Should have paid attention. Should have paid attention in screw school. Get off my screwdriver. Yeah, it's hard to throw away like technology. I don't know, it's like a personality trait maybe, but for me anyway, it's hard to throw away technology. My problem is I'm starting to stack up with some repair projects that I need to get to. My audio thing at my desk, we need to do a session with it so that I can get the interference sound out of it, and so that, what is it? I can replace the potentiometer on it, because that's gotten wear and tear over the past 6 years. Worked pretty well. It's just I wish I had paid attention to the warranty, because apparently on the 120 volt input to that audio thing that I have, they left the ground floating. The ground pin was floating, which I didn't think that they would do something that boneheaded. I thought they would really want to tie ground into some of the other grounds and stuff, but it's just floating. So what I need to do is bend that ground pin away and connect it to the actual case of the machine, and then I can get rid of that audio isolator that I bought to solve this problem. But there's two things that I need to just go into the thing in order to correct, because apparently a big problem with that shit audio vacuum tube amplifier, the version that I have, literally the pin is right next to a transformer, and so they come into contact and then you get humming in your audio. Why did they design it like that? Why did they do that? You just bend the pin. Just yeah, bend it. Done. Problem solved. But no, I'm chasing a hum in my audio setup that is just amazingly frustrating. Turns out it was just incompetence causing that. I'm going to move this just so we can take a look at this better. You guys getting buffering? Uh-oh, the TV is buffering. Let's see. I am at a good bit rate. Yeah, I got 6K. What about YouTube? What do you say? YouTube. I don't get a... Wait, how did I get 136 views in YouTube? What the... Huh? Wait a minute. 136? When did that happen? I guess it's just people coming and going. People will click onto my stream and then click off of it almost immediately. 136 people did that. Please stay. They're just hanging out. Too many punk rock videos in the background. Yeah, maybe. Probably have to write a custom driver unless it uses an open USB UART bridge. Interesting. Yeah, so I think, well, this would recognize a scitec, and I think there's a couple programs that will enable it to be used. I don't know, because they might be specific for certain flight simulators and stuff, right? So any of this stuff that I've got like indicator lights on, I want to be in control of because I can make it do whatever I want. The question is like, how with the HID device would I be able to make a game communicate back to it? There are some programs that do this. There are some programs, Gonad knows what the programs are. I haven't looked into them yet. I didn't want to sign up for an account for anything yet. But I would like direct control in case I want the indicator lights to indicate something to me. What was scitec doing? What were they on when they made this? 6.0M. So yeah, they got their own little epoxy top chip on this. Man, how much are these things? Wait a minute, I gotta look this up. I gotta look this thing up. I bought this so long ago that I can't invert this. What is this thing called again? Maybe just scitec switch panel. Let's just look that up quickly. I want to see how much this thing costs. I have too many tabs. This is too many tabs. Scitec landing gear panel. Ah, $200. Wait, this is a new one. What do they do to it? Oh, that one's got a display. Yeah, there's all kinds of accessories in this scitec thing where you can hook them all together and get all of your like flight readouts and stuff like that. I happen to have one of them, and it's the only, I'm not gonna get any more. If I wanted to, I could just make something that does all this stuff. Yeah, they have 3 of these panels. It's cool stuff, but like, yeah, it's, whatever. I think I got it off of eBay. And they're still selling. Wow, they're still at Micro Center for $120. Jeez. And Office Depot for $100. There you go. Pro Flight switch panel. Five-position magneto dial. Magneto? What? Where's the magnet, scitec? Where did you put the magnet? Show me where the magnet is. That's not a magnet. This is off, RL, both all, and start. That's not magneto. Maybe they changed it. Maybe I'm running a much earlier version. This one isn't magneto. It's just the same part, but 2 position. Contactito. Springito panel, our proprietary spring technology. Individually controls the magneto in your plane's ignition system. That's what they call a starter motor? A magneto? An electric motor that starts jet fuel starter? The jet fuel starter? That's really what they call it. Okay, so so it's not describing the switch, it's describing the device. That's what I was kind of looking at there. I didn't think plane terminology would be so stupid. Small planes have 2 magnetos. You need to check them individually before takeoff. You need to check everything before takeoff. Yeah, okay, so then that's what it is. With LED indicators, bring your plane's landing gear up or down with the satisfying click of an actual control lever. Convenient LEDs provide... It's basically the Playmobil for, you know, the toddler activity center, but for simulator games. And I get the little honky button that honks. Beep, beep. So the LEDs are actually on this panel, huh? Let's get the panel out and take a look at it. R&L's left and right side magnetos. It drops about 200 RPM when you only use a single magneto. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Wait, is that to like run electronics in the plane? I know for like military aircraft, like the what is it? The ones that do like signal jamming. You just have a pod on the plane, and the signal jammer has just a little propeller that comes out of the side of it. It's like hee, you need a little propeller, and then that powers like a whole ass signal jammer. It's like, yeah, this thing does incredibly advanced technological electronic warfare using a little propeller that we sort of just drop off of the side of a pod. That'll be $17 million. Thank you very much. Just so that they can be isolated from any kind of a interference or whatever else comes off of the aircraft. I'm gonna have to figure out what these connectors are that scitec uses, because I've got a wealth of them that I need to interface with. They are not 0.1 inch pitch, so they're not going to be very convenient for this stuff. It's unfortunate scitec wasn't taking a page out of automotive engineering, because they're certainly getting enough money from these frickin' things. $120 my ass. They're certainly getting enough money that they could splurge on some JST connectors. This is going to be a hard one to figure out. Flat-nosed LEDs. I could just put an RGB into each of these and have them be digitally interfaced. Maybe it's aeronautical engineering. Well, there's an advantage to having your electrical systems completely isolated on a pod. You're just making your own power. You'd be very slightly slowing down the airplane, but 0, 1, 2, 3. So they're doing the same scheme as the other one, as the throttle. And then we've got PDO1, blah, 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 the ground. And then scitec has these little ferrite beads. These are actually capacitors. Okay, so they have capacitors on all the inputs, just in case you decide to give it a wallop of a static shock. And then we're doing transistors to run the 6 LEDs. So we got, what is it? 1, 2, yeah, 1A, it's just the 2N, 2, 2, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh yeah, there's 6 down there. That's different part number though. 1A are the 2222s. 1A, 1A, 1A. What you guys may not be noticing is when I'm flickering, when I'm twisting it like this, I'm moving it like this in my hands so that the light catches it differently. I have a whole bunch of lights on this thing, and I have seen better microscope setups where they actually have like a ring light and they control which of the ring lights are turning on. It's really cool, actually. What that does is that gives it like side light from different angles in order to get that ideal sort of glint of a part number. These, on these particular parts, the SOT23, is that right? 223? 23, I forget which one it is. This particular type of surface mount, they always have lasered markings, so they're kind of engraved into the material. So if you catch them with the light just right, you can easily see that that says 1AM. And 1A in that particular packaging is typically going to be a 2222 N channel. Is this a P channel? I forget. I really hate the blob on chip devices. Yeah, they're pretty frustrating for people like us. But the other one they use is M6 or 9W. Actually, there's a dot there, so I think that's M6, which I don't know what that is. It's probably a like a 3904 style thing. Two leads that, oh, they're soldered over here. This is a big capacitor on the input. This whole device is very small and light. There's not a lot going on with it. The crystal, I think, is some kind of a resonator, 6 megahertz resonator. And then they've got the epoxy top, which you would typically see in something that's way more mass produced than this stuff. If we're talking about like the type of technology that you see in something like a pretty, I mean, I don't want to say rare because we found it being sold to this day at Micro Center, right? But something that is sort of like 1990s technology that they're not making $250 million of and doesn't cost $1, you wouldn't see the epoxy top on that. You would see like a microcontroller actually on the thing. That's what we're seeing everywhere, right? Very weird that they went with that. There's a lot of engineering that has to happen in the background for that to sort of come to fruition. We will be replacing the entire thing, and in doing so, I can put some RGB LEDs that'll be digitally controlled by a microcontroller, an RP2040, in fact, which we'll have to somehow wedge in here and plug in on a little circuit board. Now, can we fit that? And then it'll speak CAN bus. Oh yeah, absolutely. So on the four little things, we will absolutely be able to fit like something like this on standoffs, and then we can have the 2 plugs at the bottom of it. Probably will be a little bit of kludging. That's the appropriate term. It sounds like you're being like insensitive and using some kind of like a, I'm going to get canceled for using the word kludge. It's an acronym. What does it stand for again? I'm going to look this up, and it's going to be on like the registration of horrible words never to use. Hugh had to kludge. Kludge. Work around and makes your solution that's clumsy, inelegant, blah, blah, blah. Aerospace, similar meaning to the term jerry rig. Jury rig? Isn't it Jerry, like Jerry? Like, they must have changed it. An ill-assorted collection of poorly matching parts forming a distressing whole. I thought it was an acronym. Oh, it's Yiddish, maybe? Klug? Klug, klob. Klob. Kludge versus kludge. Glossary of computer terms. Okay, well. Common Navy slang in World War II. Piece of electronics that worked well on shore but consistently failed at sea. Yeah, all right, so it's like a pretty old school word, old school vernacular, old school slang. Jerry built means cheaply and unsustainably. Jerry rigged means organized or constructed in a crude, improvised manner. Jury rigged means constructed or arranged in makeshift fashion. Yeah, but I thought I like Jerry, like, you know, what they called the Germans in World War II. And maybe they changed it to jury just to be less mean. So the question is, we've got a bus bar on this, and they're all bus barred. And then I guess we have individual wires for each switch. So that'll be really convenient when I can source the plugs for these, and then we can get those hooked up to microcontrollers. And it looks like we probably have a common ground that's coming through the connector to these. And those will be all on input pull-up pins. How many pins is that going to be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Is that 18? Yeah. 19, 20. I don't think we have 20 I/O on this chip. Yeah, it's very analog. You know, if I get some muxes, if I get some real muxes, we could probably mux those. How many pins are on the Seed Studio Zhao? What are these things that I bought? Hold on. These cheap-ass knockoffs. One of the 79. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. The 27 and 28 is a lie. Oh, well, maybe if I hook those up too. I think those are the additional pins. The Brits were so bad at making gas cans. Gas cans that they shipped gas in square cans, which broke easily. Yeah, the German jerry can is still to this day one of the best gas can designs. I should buy one. They're not cheap anymore though. They're like really expensive. I should maybe steal them from Germans. Like everybody else did. Yeah, so we definitely don't have 20 IO on this thing to hook up directly. It is much easier to hook directly up. How many pins are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can't count higher than that. 7, 8, 9, 10. You go from 15, you'd have 26. Yep, that's what it is. So those are the additional pins. And I need, how many? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, 19, 20. Say 20. So I'd have to use those. Unless I put a different resistor on each switch. Every switch. No, you can't do that. You can't do that because they're all individuals. This one could do the resistor thing. This one is just a 1 or a 0. Moving this one to a thing would mean that I would need only one wire coming off of this thing, and then it would be 3, 4, 5, like 5 less. That's still not going to save us. Port expander for I/O. There's a digital shift resist. Digital. Well, I mean, you know, I could do a shift register. I don't know if I have any, but I would have to buy one. And then put that all in a shift register because these are 1s or 0s. And so they would just come in as 1s or 0s from a shift register. That would be the way to do it. Yeah, that would definitely be the way to do it. So this thing would then speak to a shift register and it would send a lock signal and then it would check all of its inputs. So that may be the way that we do it. Let me put these screws back in because then that would free up enough pins that I would then be able to, what do you call it? I would be able to finally be a real boy. I would be able to have the digital bus pins free so that I could do the 3 RGB LEDs. I had a sim set up once. I felt bad about it ever since. Why? Wait, this isn't a pun. I mean, they are kind of opulent. The way we're doing it kind of makes it puts it in a different light. Where did the other screws go? They're holding the circuit board down. Weren't there 4? Did I put 2 of them in the, and put them all the way up? Are they stuck to something? Anything magnetic? Yeah, the way we're doing it with used car parts makes it a little bit more Bush League and gives me more engineering cred behind the whole thing. Oh, I see. Some sim had to take the fall. I get it now. I get it now. After subsequent messages, this is not a guilt message. This is, in fact, trying to make a stupid joke on my stupid stream. That's not what my stream is for. My stream is for being very serious. Very serious. Deathly. Yeah, there we go. Anyway, what's going on there, your fan? We're getting sidetracked. This is what always happens. Trying to learn how this scitec device does its job. Now, if I had a big shift register, all right. That other one, gotcha. Oh, these stupid square headers, man. I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. There's a lot of wiring inside of this thing. If I just get a simple shift register, it would have to be like a 20-pin one or 2. I think you can hook them up to each other, right? And then you can have more shifts out of the thing. Depends on what product you actually find. And do I have any? Yeah, so this would be one way of doing it. So the one that they have, SparkFun is usually a good place if you're looking for like a basic how-to on something and just kind of remind yourself of how things work. SparkFun has a lot of little articles that help out with that. Serious? Surely not. Very serious. Yes. 74HC165. 74HC595. Actually, we have a couple through-hole ones, but I don't think the 595. Oh, no. Is that? Oh, it's going to the main. Okay, whatever. Data sheet. I don't think it's enough pins. Yeah, it's only a certain number of inputs. 8-bit serial in, parallel out, 2 to 6 volts, 3 state outputs, 15, load power consumption, 80 microamps. I don't care about that. 6 milliamps output drive, low shift current. How many pins? Probably 8. Yeah, they say 8 bits, so that's 8. 7 and 9. So can I hook multiple up to each other? Or would we just use like the chip select pin, right? With a shift register, what you do is you send it a latch signal, and then that locks in the positions that everything is in. So you've got ones or zeros on all the outputs, and then you give it a clock, and when you give it the clock, it'll spit back out the state of all of those pins. So it's perfect for an application like this, where we're just looking for the positions of switches, and the switches are ones or zeros, and switches get stitches. So if we can put 2 of these in here and hook them up together, then, you know, that's all she wrote. The only problem being that the HC595 chip that we're looking at right now, and the ones that I have, are through-hole, which means they're huge. They're too big for this application. I mean, obviously, scitec just chose a microcontroller that had enough pins that they could just hook all this stuff up and then have it communicate out with USB. We have the problem of having maybe enough pins, but then we also need the digital pins as well. Which I guess I could just do. I mean, I could just put like a little cable on those pins, little wires coming off of those pins, and have them go to the board and just use the one RP2040 to do the whole thing without using shift registers. I was just hoping there would be an easy solution. I could even reduce the number by putting the thing in there, but then I would have to hook it up all weirdly. Yeah, daisy chaining a couple of these. There's probably an example of that. I'm looking for it. Oh, is this output? Load drive CMOS device that can be used for multitude of bus interface type applications where the output ringing is common. The load drive, blah, 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 blah. Okay, they're not giving us a ton of examples. Usually there would be like well, there's probably white papers and other articles that detail how to use it. Piso Shifty Boy? I don't know what that is. Decode the USB? No. I don't want to do that because then you don't know what signal to send it to have it, and you can't get it radiation hardened. See, here you can get it radiation hardened. Yeah. No, I want to full control is going to be the easier path for this thing, and I think maybe I can hook up all the microcontroller pins individually. It's just I don't know if I can also free up one wire for the LEDs, which is all I need. I just need, how many of these? I need to count everything again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20. Actually, probably 19, because that doesn't need... It's either a 0 or a 1. I mean, if you put it into like an input pull-up, it has 2 positions on here, and I guess maybe you could hang it between the 2, which would be kind of funny. Okay, 20. So we've got 20 inputs. I think I'd be able to do the 20 inputs, use the unfortunately placed little nubbins down there. That, or just do a PicoPi, but the PicoPi is like the size of the entire area of the things that I got to plug in. So that'd have to be like a 2-layer circuit board, a two thingy circuit board. hold on, let's look at this. Move my screw bin because that's in the way now. I don't have any flat surfaces to utilize. Put it on a, hopefully an accommodating but not flat surface. There we go. Okay, get this over here. Piece of pie. Maybe put it on a piece of pie in the sky. The Teensy obviously has all of the analogs and digitals that we would ever need. It's just too expensive. It's $20 micro. So the original circuit board is here, and this is a Pico Pi. It's very close. They're very close to the same size. If I had this on a standoff with the board below it, it would be easier to get to all the pins. What a box. Yeah, this is to this day, $120. But this is like the professional scitec controls. Why do they make those I/O ports like that? Right on the edge with a plated concave cutout at each hole. It's so that you can solder it down directly, and you can also make Among Us jokes while you're doing it. But those cups, those specific types of cups, are so that you can solder it down directly to a circuit board. So if I had an application where I wanted to use this microcontroller and I wanted to solder it to a board and have it be a minimal amount of standoff on this thing, I obviously would have to accommodate for all of the chips down here, so I probably need a cutout around that. But then I could put this down onto pads and solder it down. They do it in a lot of weird stuff. Yeah, castellated is what the term is. Thank you, Pseudo. Is having it on a standoff when you give both of them pistols and they fucking punny little jokes, you guys. Very funny. But yeah, if I put standoffs on this and I use the 0.1 inch spaced circuit board, I can get to these 4 holes. I could then possibly position RGB LEDs, although there will be bleed, so I'll probably have to 3D print a little like sleeve so that the light doesn't bleed into the other indicators, because those direct LEDs go into the back of these things, and I guess they don't bleed very much. So yeah, I'll probably have to print out like a little tube to go around the LEDs, isolate them. And then I have full RGB control of them, so I can have them turn purple if I want. Start wearing purple, yada da da da. And then I would have to figure out how we'd mount these connectors. Those connectors, obviously I could harvest them from this device, but I kind of want, let's be real. These are never going back together the way they were. Why is it so far off? You guys drifted? I feel like you've drifted away, chat. These are never going back together. In some weird alternate reality, I might want to put them back together. And so I am going to keep the circuit board, but I could just throw it out. It's $120 device. This is its deathbed. It's not really its deathbed, it's its life bed. We're going to be giving it a, well, not like the conspiracy theory life beds. What are those called? The med bed. Med bed. Need med beds. Med bed. You know, as nice as it would be to have an Elysium style medical bed that could literally stitch you back together as you deteriorate, I'm not really going to get that technology. RP2040 0. Yeah, so I think what I can do is, it'll be very ugly, but if I put this thing up on full standoffs, including the one back here, and then I have another thing next to it where I run a bunch of little wires out to it, we will have access to all of the pins on this thing. I don't know how I can run that wire, because it'll have to run under the board and move over to the other inputs. It's kind of ridiculous. But like, I kind of want to use these, I want to use these microcontrollers on basically the whole system. That requires a mux. If I use two, these are $2 each. So if I use 2 of them there, that'll just be two CAN devices that'll have slightly different software and be doing just about the same thing. We'll have like a right and a left side of steering wheel control. A little weird, and it's a little expensive in terms of devices. I could possibly make it so that these can be updated via CAN. I don't know exactly how that happens, but I think people have worked on it. I don't know if the RP2040 can do that, but... Or if I use this one, then I don't have to run all of the wires out of it in the weird way. But this one also uses a USB connector that I hate. So it's a big debate. But yeah, this is essentially the process for everything. Is we go in there, we take it over, and we figure out how it ticks. I'm going to do this one now, just because we're on a roll. Ruin all of my scitec accessories. Now this one has clicky buttons, and clicky buttons indicate to me that they are not like this thing is. This thing uses panel mount buttons to get that particular feel of a, I mean, it still feels like plastic, but it's a little bit more like a real aircraft where you'd have individual switches on everything. That is not what this is doing. What this is doing is clearly plastic dome buttons. So there's going to be a circuit board that is the whole thing. Indicators are going to be on that circuit board, and then the little button guys are on that. So this is a totally different piece of technology. Get in the pods, Shinji. Man, it'll be cool when all this stuff is together and I can sit back in front of Node-RED and give them all functions. Because like this F button here, I could very easily make the don't allow chat to do interactions button, right? I can have it inject a sudden steering angle change, all that kind of stuff will be very doable. You don't need that button. You can't talk me out of it. No, I mean, there's definitely going to be buttons for me to like disable chat interaction and stuff like that, you know? Because if you guys start messing with a seat, that could actually get kind of dangerous. Even though I don't think the seat will be able to like pinch me in any way, and the motors in it are not that big. The ignominy is you using that word. I got to look it up because it's sort of ignominious. I know, sort of, but I need to remind myself. Ignominy is just going to say having to pertain to ignominious, deserving or cause of public disgrace or shame. Yeah, your use of ignominy is ignominious. There we go. You should be shamed. Oh, we're going to use snaps in the one, but not this one, huh? Oh, that's... Thanks, scitec. I really appreciate that. All right, this one's a bit more of a challenge. Let's take a look at this one. Bit more of a challenge. I don't think they're running the buttons out directly through the connector. If they are, then it's not that much of a challenge. All we need to do is huck a microcontroller at it and we're done. But I don't think that's going to be the case here. Start wearing purple, wearing purple. Yada-da-da-da. Dun, dun, dun. It's an NEC part. So yeah, we've got our signals coming in here. Oh, they have it labeled VCC ground and then DT1 clock and DTO. DT in, clock, DTO. The other ones aren't labeled. And they go directly into the NEC chip. We might have some kind of like a digital shifter register thing that we could potentially talk to with our microcontroller. Try to make that a little bit more apparent. Oh god, this is like impossible to read. They didn't really like try to censor the chip, but they did put a dot right in the middle of it, which makes me think that it might be a microcontroller, and the dot represents whether or not they've programmed it. I can't. Try to wipe it off with a dirty finger. Spent $40 on an NIMH AA. Went to turn on my label printer, and its 8 AA batteries were dead. So I bought 2,800 milliamp from Tenergy. Huh. Yeah, the newer versions of the label makers all use rechargeable batteries, and mine uses a buttload of AA's. It's kind of annoying. Is that 9? I can't frickin' read this thing. Like nothing I'm doing is illuminating the, maybe bring in the flashlight and see if I can go for like a heavy angle on it. That's a little better. Hold on. P92, F92, and then it does stuff that's just crazy and hard to decipher because of that stupid label that they put on it. I mean, if I take a little acetone to that, it just feels to me like they're, well, let's try NEC 944EB7A1. NEC 944. Oops. 944 E87. E87. Nope. That gave me nothing. Data sheet PDF. Nope. So it's the top number. Is there, so there's no local crystal. Unless it's on the other side of the board. Got a voltage regulator. Some transistors for the LEDs. I want to say it's like some kind of a port expander. So if that's F92, F92E87, try it. Really, you only found an image? What? Bipolar analog integrated circuit. Okay, that's not it. Thermal cutoff, 8th edition. No. Why am I breaking out into cold sweats? Hold on a second. What's my blood glucose doing? That's normal. Weird. I feel weird. Why am I sweating? I had a weird sandwich for lunch. Used what did I use in the oh, just like those little pucks of like salami. I just put a bunch of those on with serrano peppers, green onions, and mayo, and then a bunch of pickles, and then mustard, and then lettuce. It's a very weird sandwich. It's a very weird sandwich. Did it work? I mean, yeah, those component parts all work together. The salami pucks were very annoying to deal with. I probably should have split them into smaller parts. Yeah, I also have a very old labeler, and it works. It just eats those batteries. I need to find like the plug-in power source for it, but I think it takes like 9 volts AC or something through the power supply. All right, I need to just scrape this off so I can actually see it. It's the intense regret for suggesting having a button to disable chat. Just my stomach sank. The weight of what I had just said. Beginning to take hold. F92, so NEC F9234. T. There's no T. All right, let's just see what the F9234 shows. Oh, F9234. PD, Renaissance? No, I said NEC. Jokes. All data sheet can sometimes lead you down a rabbit hole. Did Renaissance buy NEC? Then maybe that happened. I see, online. 8-bit flash? That's not the right part. So Renaissance, oh wait, what is that? That's a microcontroller, probably did. Yeah, 8-bit single chip microcontroller. I don't think it's a MOS integrated circuit. We'll check just in case. Old company name. 23, that's not even the right part number. P0 to P03, port 0, 2, 3, and 12. Now, that actually seems a little closer to what we actually have, isn't it? VSS, VDD, reset. I was hoping it would have been an ASIC, but I don't think it is. I don't think we've got an ASIC. I think we've got a microcontroller. Unfortunate. So if that's a microcontroller, then we can't as elegantly take it over. I was hoping that we would see something like an old shift register, because they had all those TX and RX ports on the bottom here. VCC ground, 2 DT1, 2 clock, 2 DT out, and then 2 D1. So there's some kind of like a serial communication scheme going on here. What's going to it? It comes from the throttle controller. So with the scitec system, you have the throttle, you have your controls, and then you have the joystick. And the x85F was force sensitive. So nothing moved, and it all was just locked together, which was unfortunate because then you're trying to turn like in the middle of a fight, and you're like, oh God, I need to turn more and more and more. I need maximum turning. And then before you know it, you are putting your full like pec muscle into the thing and your white knuckle on the controls. And then the base slips out from the joystick and you go bam right onto the desk, punching it as hard as you can. Happened to me several times. But what happens is the throttle has 3 giant wires coming out of it. One is USB, the other one plugs into this panel here, and then the third one plugs into the joystick. So all that stuff is wrapped up into one device, and then this thing controls settings, like what amount of force do you want to be maximum, and modes and stuff, and it'll show you what mode you have selected on the throttle. It's got a little 4-way switch that lets you select one of these. So my thought, my suspicion, my hope was that this thing was going to be running either just nakedly off of pins, which is a lot of pins to do a lot of stuff, but I mean 4 buttons and stuff, or it would be running like a shift register. But it seems like what they did is they got a microcontroller and then they programmed that to do the job. Yeah, it's just one button on that. Is there an LED on it? Should be an LED. It looks like it could illuminate. Well, regardless of what it is, all we can find is data sheets that call it a microcontroller. What is it? 9. That's a 9, right? Could that be an 8? I think it's a 9. Yeah, they're cool panels. They're good to like label and stuff. I really want to use them. The X85 is an okay joystick. The buttons on it feel very cheap compared to the Thrustmaster. Thrustmaster gets that real like military button to it, and the scitec has a real clicky kind of button to it. It's very cheaper feeling, but the X85 had like cool stuff going on. The throttle is my favorite throttle, and so we're going to be using the throttle. We're just going to take it over. We're going to put the pins to our own things and have it talk in CAN bus to everybody else. Laughs in one-time programming mask ROM. That's probably what the white dot was all about. So in the factory, or some a-hole at a desk gets to put this chip into, well, actually, no, yeah, program from the factory. Maybe the white dot indicates to me that maybe it was programmed like before sending them to the factory, and somebody just sat in front of like a case of chips, hundreds of them, and was just pick it up, put it in the programmer, close the door, hit program, it's done, put a white dot on it, put it back in the thing, right? That's kind of what I think. Ow, happened. This through-hole pin. I would like to find a better data sheet for this thing, but I guess NEC has been like blew up. Because it's definitely F9234. And our search for F9234 is not coming up with definitive results. This is probably a store page. F9234T. Electronic component brought to... what are you? Oh, I hate these websites. The reason it came up so much. How to order F9234. Please click ad. How to pay for F9234. Looking for F9234? F9234 is a chip. Veswin. No, that's useless. We'll sell you thing that has number you searched. Sometimes this can help redirect you, though. But in this case, they know more. This is supposedly the data sheet. That doesn't... What? From Panduit? I don't think it's a Panduit part. That's not a... It's a cable. That's a fiber optic cable. That's unfortunately victim of a company going out of business, I guess. That's not even the right chip. Or are they just showing general stuff? Jeez, get out of here. Whoa. Why did it take me all the way over there? We got to close some tabs, chat. I think it's a Renesas part, as NEC is closed. But the Renesas part doesn't give us hope. Where's the power pins? So here's one thing to see if you're looking at the right chip is where does power come in and out of this thing? So power in this case is pins 6 and 7. So if we look on our board here, it's nice and neatly laid out. And we got, where's my pointer? Pointy, where's my pointer? Duende. Hold on, it's around here somewhere. I'm gonna find it. And then I'll be able to point at stuff successfully. Because you can't exactly point at the pins by going... That's way too big. Let's help me occasionally. Was searching for an image of the chip on Google, and then it shows the AliExpress listing. Yeah, that's like the most desperate is when I've found it by the store page lists it and lists the marking on the outside. Because for some reason, engineers can be real dicks about that kind of stuff. It's like, what is the marking on the chip? They're like, oh, this series of chip depends on your order number. It's like, God damn it. They're not friendly to reverse engineering a lot of the time. You have mystery chips. This is disgusting. Why is this so disgusting? F9234 is not a Renesas, which is an 8-bit MCU. I would believe that this is an 8-bit MCU. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 6, 7. And it's got a capacitor across them, which is probably 0.1 off. One is on ground, another one's on a mystery pin. Mystery pin is probably coming from here, which is a U202, which is an SOT235. Actually, SOT223, right? Is that the one with the tab? I think so. So that would be a voltage regulator coming from our initial VCC input. Comes in, got a filter capacitor here, got another big filter, so big and small. That's just to deal with harmonics and stuff. Goes into the middle pin, which is also shared with this tab pin because they do that because they're jerks. I don't know why they wouldn't make the big tab pin your ground pin because you have this huge ground plane that you could use to cool it. But no, you have to have just this little isolated pad because then your power is coming off of this pin. So your power input goes into here. This one is ground. It's one single pin. Should be this. Probably this is one of the ones with like the little metal thing that goes all the way across on the bottom pad. But anyway, your output is coming over to here where it hits this filter. Then this filter goes off in that direction over here. And then on the other side of the board, magically makes its way right here. So yeah, this is pin 6 and 7, which is a fairly rare configuration as far as what I've seen. Pins 6 and 7, VSS and VDD being on the same side of the chip in just this weird location. That's, I think we got the right part. It is in fact a microcontroller. and just see what else we've got. Analog, VSS, and VDD over here. Yep, there's another filter capacitor. So analog reference for VSS and VDD are these two. So one of them goes to this part of the filter capacitor that connects to the ground plane. The other one goes over here through this board. Don't know where it goes from there. We're not doing a full reverse engineering. It probably runs back to here. Well, you know, 7400 series, you'd have power here and ground here. Some of them do power ground. Some of them do multiples of them. There's all kinds of different configurations. The op amps will do them in the centers, sort of like they're doing here. But having them be offset from center on one side of the board, that's a little new. You know, you see it every now and then. But it matches uniquely, and the footprint is the same, you know, footprint and number of pins and stuff. So unfortunately, we have a microcontroller, which means we don't know what's going on under the hood. And we don't really have the chops to reprogram it. I don't know what X1 and X2 do. We could hook this thing up to power and look at the packets running around, but that would be, well, with the rest of the stuff disassembled, it's a lot of reverse engineering. You know, push the button, see what packet shows up, and copy the packet, and then we could just communicate to it with the microcontroller that would then relay CAN bus instructions on the other end. That would be one way to go about reverse engineering this. Is all you need to do is drop an Arduino onto this thing, hook it up to its mother computer, and then push the buttons on it with it hooked up to USB. That would be one way that I could easily do that. And then we would have, well, there's a bunch of pins. I mean, there's clock, DT1, DTO, in and out, clock, but what's 2D, whatever. So my thoughts are maybe this one, I need to desolder this, and then we can just hook up to all of its I/O. How are they using the I/O? We got 4 LEDs over here. Could potentially add another LED underneath this. Have this thing light up. That'd be cute. Here, let's actually get this board out of here so we can see the full thing. I'll remove the board so that we can take a look at what's going on. There's a lot of screws. There's a whole lot of screws, man. What's this link you got? Hold on. Product information. Oh, the problem is with this program, I'm going to hit paste and it'll be the whole. Oh no, this actually did highlight it properly. Old company name. Was this the one we were looking at? I think so. Similar, at least. 8-bit single chip microcontrollers. You know, maybe we could reflash it, but I don't think it's supported by Arduino, which means I don't know how to use it. So just replacing it. That's the best bet. I do not understand how Social Stream Ninja works. The interface, that is. Here, hold on. Like, Flask puts a link in there, and so I click on it, and it highlights it. And then Flask is in, like, mortal danger. Because if I click this wrong, it's going to want to do, like, admin stuff. Sometimes I'll do that, and I'll try to copy the text, and then it'll copy the entire message, so that when I go to paste it into something, it'll be the whole chat message. See? 3:29 p.m. Flask, HTTPS. Like, it's not useful. And then it's permanently highlighted. I can't undo it. This wouldn't be an issue if I had more people chatting. Okay, all right. So anyway, not a shift register. That's unfortunate. I would have liked to put a companion microcontroller on this thing and then take it over. There's I and O for turning on and off the LEDs. I think the best bet is just to take it over. So we need to figure out what that's going to entail. Desoldering the microcontroller and putting my own in there. That's one of the things, but then we'll figure it out. How much room is there in the enclosure? Oh, plenty. That's plenty of room. So yeah. It was the same thing you found, just on a preliminary form. I see. I see, yes. This ended up being more reverse engineering. It's just I wanted to figure these things out. They were just right in front of my face, and I found them while I was looking for parts. This is typical of designs like this, by the way. For buttons and stuff, what you'll have is you will have some kind of an electrical button on the actual board, right? And these are called tactile buttons. These are just the simple buttons. You can buy them just about anywhere. I don't know what this spring is. That a ground spring? Wait, the 4 of these have their own little springies on them. Oh, they've also got LEDs on them. Wait, what? Hold on a minute. Oh, that's right. The F1 to F4s also light up. Check that out. So that's a really cool little spring contact that they got going on there. But so what you'll do is you'll design to have your buttons on the thing, right? And those tactile feedback buttons give you a nice little metal dome clickiness to them, right? But you want to add your own button housing to the thing. So what you do is you have your button plastic, and then you have something akin to a spring that returns it back to its original position. So if this were locked down, here, let's back out. And this is typical of basically every single button design that's been done professionally that I've seen, is you have some mechanism that returns the button on its own, and the tactile button gets to speak for itself. So the tactile button will sometimes give you enough force springing back that it will return to its original position, but just to make sure that things go down happy, you add a little kind of springy mechanism to the button itself. Yeah, so these light up here. I don't think by lighting it up there, I think they just throw light at the back and that lights up. T1 to 4 do not light up. So what are those springs doing? And they're only on the light up ones. I guess they just wanted it to have a slightly different feel. They really don't, though. They don't have that much different of a feel. Yeah, I guess the spring just goes all the way to the button. It makes that a little bit harder to press. And then these over here, see, even this one, your eject button, I called it eject. I don't know if it's actually eject, but that's what I used it as. They just have that extra little spring on it. Those are not buttons, and then these are easier to press. What were they originally? They're just called T1 to 4. I can't feel the difference between them, though. Yeah, I don't feel any. They're the same design, but one of them's harder to press. This one maybe moves a little bit more. They don't have LEDs in them, no. There's LEDs below them. See, that's the whole LED. This is not an LED contact. This is just to make the springiness of the button a little bit more pronounced. But so, these have a bar in the middle. And they're not illuminated. These don't have a bar, and they are illuminated. What? What is going on here? Very strange design. Interesting, though. And yeah, these 4 use the plastic as a diffuser. These are just the M indicators. Those just have LEDs behind them. Again, if I take over the whole circuit board and I make something very similar to this, I don't think I want to do that. That's a lot of work. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, like they were taking current to like a grounding thing, but no, they're there for springiness, even though I guess they're brass. What's up, Madam? Like, I don't know, that wouldn't be too hard of a circuit board to put together. Oh, there is an LED on the eject button. I didn't know that. Bonus. Total boner. I mean bonus. Yeah, so I can illuminate the eject button. I never knew that could happen. I don't know what would enable it, but nor would I know how to illuminate the eject button in the original software. But now I know I can do it, which means if we take over this device, that's one thing, or it's going to be a lot of like weird soldering if I'm going to try to build my own, because I've got tactile buttons coming out of my ears. And if I build a similar circuit board to this, then I'm not harming the original one. I need to figure out making little springs. I don't know about that. I think the springs are brass so that they can be soldered in place so they don't fall out when you take the circuit board out. That's kind of nice. So, I mean, you know, throw one of these in there, desolder the micro, put a bunch of little wires on it, and just have it hang out behind everybody. And then you would have a bunch of LEDs and a whole bunch of buttons that would then communicate on CAN bus. So if I wanted to indicate that something was in a certain mode, I could then just activate the LED with a microcontroller. And these look like they are all going through transistors to get to that little 8-bit guy over there. And then the buttons, how are they connected? It looks kind of like they're, oh, well, these are just directly. That one goes, okay, so there are diodes on the buttons, which means that they might matrix this. So this would scan through a matrix of rows and columns, and then the diodes are there to keep crosstalk from happening. Get a little tiny lathe and make springs. It's called the screwdriver, and you just wrap it around the screwdriver. Oh yeah, the song of my people. Do, 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 do. I don't want to deal with brass wire on that level. And I wonder if 0.1 inch space boards could accommodate the positions of all of this stuff. Because yeah, we could cut out an outline board and then all these individual things drill some of these holes. That would be a little bit difficult to do. It would leave me a little bit more free to like reconfigure this thing to do what I wanted it to do. But I think the better bet is to just take over the microcontroller and figure out what its pins are doing. It feels as though this thing is connected via matrix. And that would be why there are extra things, extra diodes on each row and column. What are they labeled? Diode 202, diode 201. Okay, so that doesn't quite tell us. Columns and rows. Columns and rows. And there's caps on there too. Actually, does each one have a diode? Huh. Sister R. Okay, so that's just the switch. Yeah, I think it's just rows and columns. But then what goes where? Yeah, because see, these don't then connect ground. Yeah, they don't have a ground connection. There's definitely it's a grid. It's a grid. So that's just the simple, got to look up the grid, and then I can probe the individual pins to see where they go. Now we know. I'm going to put this back together, though, because I'm not going to get to this one very quickly. It will be vital for the operation of the rest of the simulator setup, because I can use, I definitely will be using this to activate different force feedback settings and to activate and deactivate things like chat, and to have an eject button that can light up. How can you not have an eject button, right? It'd be so cool. I was thinking about Flatulent Gonad's suggestion of making the main chair spin so that you could have it turn and then you can get in and get out of the thing. I think that's a bit much, but it would be very fun to do, and I do have a turntable bearing that I could throw at that. I would have to add like another level of rails to hold the seat up, and then the turntable would be in there, and then I need something that would actuate the turntable, and so that would be like, actually I've got another seat motor. I've got an extra seat motor that I could use to actuate. I would have to like 3D print a big plastic gear, I think, to go across 90 degrees of the thing. But then there's also the possibility that my gears are not that great, so they'll move a little bit like that. I don't want that. I don't think I want that. But I could definitely set up some kind of like a worm gear. Nah. This is a little cheap. The scitec stuff feels just a little bit cheap compared to other methods. Other stuff I have are like real industrial buttons. Okay, well, I wanted to set this up, but I'm going to take my Wednesday to set up the Raspberry Pi so that we can get that communicating with CAN bus. Because I think from there, it's just about getting all of our components attached to this board here. And then I can wire them all together and we can start to put together the system. Let me see if I've got the USB hub. I'm going to look for that. Give me one sec. I'm going to also close the window because it is getting cold in here. Somewhere around here, I've got a USB 2.0 hub that would be perfect for this thing. Oh my God, the sun's coming in. I'm blind. During the winter months, the sun will come right in that window and hit the computer with all the water cooling stuff on it. And I really don't want it to do that, which is why we were trying to wall mount the computer. We didn't get very far because there's a lot of parts that I need to design. There's a spare USB hub that I had. There's like a little unpowered USB hub that I used to use as an extension for the gaming PC. I know I didn't throw it out because I would keep something like that. Sort of thing that I would do. Yeah, it's not in here. Okay, let's look for it over here. If you was a USB hub, where would you be? I think there's a derelict hub in here, but it's not the right kind. In the circuit board drawer. My body is broken from looking through all of these containers for stuff. I have just ruined myself. I took all the connectors off of it. It maybe wasn't a good plan. It's maybe a little too big too. I think that's a little too big for our system. So where then would the Amazon Basics hub have gone? I didn't see it when I was rearranging all this stuff. I should know where literally everything in the shop is, so I don't know if I kept that little hub. It's like the one that I use over here. Oops, okay, whatever that was is gone. Where did that one go? Huh, I'll find it one day. One day I'll find it. Yeah, I would have the hub over here on an extension cable and then run my camera and the Stream Deck that does the, what you call it? The Stream Deck that controls stream so I can move it over to the other desk. I don't have that set up anymore. And I don't know where the hub went. There's a little Amazon Basics hub. Is it in the top drawer here? We've got to watch out that I don't catch cables when I open drawers. That's one thing that maybe I need to address is having some of these USB cables that run the stream like lashed down a little better so they don't get caught when I'm looking through things. You don't want to open a drawer and have your whole stream crash. Let's see what's in here. Why does nothing work? None of this is the right thing. I probably would have stuffed it in one of these drawers, to be honest. Where are you guys? You guys can't... You guys can barely see. Yeah, and I've been through these drawers about 20 times looking for the switch, the automotive switch that I've been looking for. It's not in here. That I can say with confidence. What's under this? Paintbrushes, airbrush. No, none of that's the right thing. All the way down here, nothing USB flavored. Here are those battery chargers I was talking about earlier.